Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School, and I want to welcome you all to Powernomics Thursday. This is where I bring in Dr. Claud Anderson, who comes in, who graces us with his presence every single week, and we get a chance to talk Powernomics and Black economic strength, as well as all the other things that matter to our people, where we can guide the conversation and nobody else. So before I begin, I'd like to ask my friend, Dr. Claude Anderson, how you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, sir. I've been looking forward to seeing you again this week.
Oh, same here, same here. And I know that everybody that comes in, they're always happy and looking forward to seeing you as well. They feel like your conversations are something that they don't get anywhere else. And I hope that everybody in here will take the time and really reflect on how appreciative all of us are, and all of us should be, that we have somebody that has experience and wisdom that is coming out every week and for nothing, talking to you all about the things that are going to make a difference in our community. I mean, he doesn't charge you anything. He just comes in and he just, he just shares knowledge that you won't get on any college campus. There is no college professor anywhere on any campus that can teach you what Dr. Claude Anderson can teach you. I can verify that. I've seen a lot of professors, and I know there are none that can match what this man brings to the table. So everybody who's in here, please do me this favor. Please shout out your city, your business, or your dream. As you guys know, we like to do the city shout out in the beginning. And Freddie Shark says, I love you, Dr. Anderson. Conscious Man says, good afternoon, doctors. I appreciate your weekly discussions about Black lives. You are welcome. George Jameson, absolutely. Andrew says, can you make me a mod, please? I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and trust you, man. I hope that you're not a messy mod, because I guess I can't do it just because you asked, but I did it anyway. So so you are a moderator now. Let's see here. Freddie Sharkey's out of San Diego. Anybody international? I see Jacksonville, Seattle, Houston. Houston is where the All Black National Convention is going to be hosted. So mark that in your calendar. It's September 27th, that weekend. Let me see here. I'll shout out some of the cities, Dr. Anderson. Let me see. I see Jay Real is in here. I see TJ Detroit listening from the UK, says Colleen. Okay, so she's international. Greensboro, North Carolina, Pittsburgh. Is that Mr. Fresh Laundromat in New Jersey from Hip Hop POV? Gary Wallace, Annapolis. Masali from Mali, another international person. Lewis from Hayward, California. Michelle Griffin from Philly. I see Baltimore, Luxembourg, studying abroad, says Andrew. All right. Dana Stockton, S&J from Baltimore, Jacksonville, Winnipeg, Canada, Sugar Hill, Georgia, California, Germany Watchdog, says Zora, Maine. So there's a whole lot of people in here from all over the world. And I asked you to shout out your city and your business and your dream for a couple of reasons. One, so that everybody can know where everybody's at. But then number two, so that everybody can know who to support. So if you have a business, put that URL in there, and don't hesitate to throw it up there so other people can see and other people can support you. So Dr. Anderson, let me just dive into the conversation. We will start. How about we start where you started the conversation? I had some stuff I wanted to discuss in terms of your chapter in Powernomics about inappropriate behavior, and I know you said that we can cover that, but it sounded like you were very passionate about a recent decision on the part of the Trump administration involving immigration from African countries. Can you kind of speak to that?
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to. And I think, and I would love to see us do something a little bit unique today that would be in line with your business school, and with the large number of your listeners and viewers who purchased those library packs and got the textbooks, use the books for textbook. And I'm going to try to respond to that by pulling out a clipping in our local newspaper here in Washington, D.C. The title of this newspaper clipping is United States Move to Curb Overstay of Visas. It says they're going to start shutting down various people coming to the country. And when this is what the Trump administration's policy, they said they're going to start excluding countries that have a tendency to bring people here and let them overstay their visas or try to come too frequently on a short-term basis. And identify those countries that they're going to identify and put a new barrier on them, a blockade against them coming into the country. And he identified them. He said that they have no problem with the Japanese coming to America, the Chinese coming to America, the Asian countries, or any Europeans. They said the biggest problem they have here, and this is with African countries, African nations, including Chad, Liberia, Nigeria, and on down the line. They're going to restrict them. And what they're going to do is this. they say in the future, to allow those countries to come in, we're going to request and demand they post a bond. Listen to what I'm saying. They post a bond before they can come into the country. They're going to post a bond and before they can enter. And if they overstay in any respect, in any way, or a few days over, that they're going to forfeit that bond and lose the money for coming in this country. Now, they only got to do that with African countries. Can you hear me, see me? Did I lose you?
You know what? You might have lost my video. Sorry about that, but I'm still here. Please continue.
Are you back?
Yep, I sure am.
Okay, and so they only identify those African countries, and they said in the future we're going to restrict African countries from coming here, and if any of those we do give a short-term visa to, we're going to make them post a bond, and they will forfeit that bond if they stay any time over that bond. And what I'm going to bring up there and say, this is exactly what you asked about. You asked about a code of conduct, and if you take this book called Black Labor, White Wealth, it clarifies your question about the code of conduct. If you got your book with you, Dr. Watkins, okay, do me a favor, go back to the index on page 241, and I want you to do something for me, and we're going to do this in partnership. Go back to that. Now from that index. I'm sorry. No, it's not the index. Hold on one second. Not the index. I'm sorry. Go to page 223. Page 223. And what page 223 is, it is a code of conduct by the North and the South on Black folk in America, how they were to be treated, reviewed, and dealt with. Do you have your book?
I was looking at Powernomics, but
no, it's the Black Labor, White Wealth.
Okay, got it.
Okay, go to Black Labor, White Wealth, go to page 223, start there in the appendix. Now that is a code of conduct. The question that you raised last week is a code of conduct. In the top part, it says for starting with the northern states and what they did. And there's always in the bottom part later on, about halfway through, it go focus on the southern states. Now do me a favor and watch this now. I'm gonna tell you which one is based on years on the left-hand column. As you go down, I'm gonna tell you which year to go to, and you read the little short blurb there, would you, to your students? Okay. So on the year, let's go down to the first year. I'm gonna skip a lot of that from the first year and go over the first time. Let's go over to page 224.
224. Okay.
Hold on one second. Let's go to page 224.
Okay.
Okay. On that page, what it says there, go down to. Now hold on one second before I get to that one.
Everybody, this is the book we're using today.
Go down to 6. That's the first one. Go to 1667. 1667.
Okay, 1667.
Yeah, the year 1667, and that'll be on.
I do not see 1660. I see 1642, 1686, and 1691.
Now look on page 228.
Okay.
Go on 228, 1667. You see that? Going back as early as you can in the South. It says 1667. What it says, what happened there?
The British Plantation Act, which established codes of conduct for slaves and slaveholders.
Okay, see, and that's it. I want you to read. So that's this whole section is everything we're going to talk about for the next 5 or 10 minutes is a part of that code of conduct. It's going to dictate how whites are going to behave and how blacks are going to behave. Now go from 1667. Now go over to 1804.
Okay, that's the Ohio Anti-Mobility Law, enacted black laws that restricted blacks' movement.
Okay, that's the same thing Donald Trump is doing now with the policy that came out last week. Now go down to 1807 and read that one for me, please.
The Maryland Residence Law limited residence of entering free blacks to 2 weeks.
Okay, now go down to 1811.
Delaware Migration Law forbade migration of blacks, levied a $10 per week fine.
See, and that's the bond that they had to put up a bond at that time, just like that's what Trump is demanding again. And they would forfeit that bond if they stayed any place in this country. Once white folk put a code of conduct on them, so they can govern how their movement and everything else. Now go down to the next one. Go down to 1821.
1821, District of Columbia registration law required blacks to register annually and post a bond.
Okay, and that's what came out in the Trump administration just last week, which says that now African Americans coming in from those various African nations are going to have to post a bond, and if they violate that bond by overstaying a few days, they have forfeit the bond and have to be kicked out of the country. That's why I'm showing you the code of conduct. Let's go down now to 1831.
1831, the Indiana mobility law required blacks to register in order to work and post bond.
Okay, so it's posting the bond again. Same thing Trump is doing now with all these, for these African nations coming. They're posting the bond, they will forfeit if they in fact overstay in any manner. Now let's go back. Let's go back to page. Let's go back to page 224, Dr. Watkins.
Page 224. Let me see.
Okay.
224.
You got that?
Okay.
Now go down to 1793, the year 1793.
1793, fugitive slave law discouraged slaves from running away. Protected.
No, 1793. What does it say there?
Oh, it says fugitive slave law, and it says discouraged slaves from running away, protected planters, invested capital.
And okay, no, did you go back to what page are you on now?
I know it is. So the same as 1793, you have the fugitive slave law and the Virginia migration law, which forbade free blacks from entering the state of Virginia.
Okay, just like now Trump is going to forbid Africans coming into the country. Okay, go down 1806.
1806, Louisiana migration law forbade immigration for free black males over 15 years old.
Okay, now 1814.
The Louisiana migration law prohibited free blacks from entering the state of Louisiana.
Okay, now go. Then I'm not going to do that many more. I'm just trying to get you so you can see the national code of conduct in almost all these states. You ask me what is a code of conduct? It's something that white folk abide by. Every white understands the code, and they treat blacks in the manner that's being demanded by these codes. Now go to 1820. Let's go to what state is that?
South Carolina migration law prohibited free blacks from entering the state.
Okay, and one more. Go down to 1826.
1826 is the North Carolina migration law forbade entry of free blacks. Violators were penalized $500. That's a lot. That was a lot of money back then.
That's a lot of the money. When most blacks didn't get paid at all. They weren't making any money, and few of them only got pennies. Dr. Watkins, listen, look, this is a code of conduct. And 1830, and I'll make that the last one. Read that one for me, please.
1830, Louisiana expulsion law required all free blacks to leave the state within 60 days. And you also have the Mississippi employment law, which forbade black employment in printing and entertainment. 1830 had the Kentucky property tax law, which taxed blacks and forbade their voting or attending school.
And see, and now here this is now, all these hundreds of years later, you got the same thing reemerging. And where are the damn black folk? Where's your black leadership? They didn't do anything 250 years ago, and all these things going on in all these states I'm giving you. Same thing. And now it's going on right now in Washington, D.C. this week by the President of the United States. I have not heard not one black person in the black overclass or the black underclass open their damn mouths about it. Now explain that to me, would you, sir? React to that for me. Let your students react to that.
Well, you all heard this. Put your comments in there. Let Dr. Anderson know what you think, and well, let us both know what you think. And hit the like button and share button, because as you know, this is not common information. I mean, tell me yes or no. Yes or no. Is this the kind of stuff that you learn in public school? Yes or no? Somebody tell me. Yes or no? Right? The answer is no. I assume it's no. If you don't agree, let me know. But if you do agree, just say yes, I agree. Because I think that what's interesting about this, Dr. Anderson, is here I am. I'm sitting here. I'm 47 years old with a PhD, and you just schooled me in front of everybody. I literally was. I admit I didn't know where you were going with it at first, and then you just kept pointing out all these laws, that were designed to create the system that we live in now. It's almost like people act like racism just kind of came out of nowhere, that it was an accident, and it was planned, it was strategic. So what I'm hearing is that what we're seeing now is just a continuation of what we've seen in the past. And and I think what's interesting is, this is a conversation that was going on this week. There was a big debate over a reparations movement with the hashtag ADOS, which stood for American Descendants of Slaves. And a lot of people were behind it because they felt that African Americans have a special experience, special rights, special privileges as a result of being descendants of slaves. But then there was this sort of this energy that was almost anti-Black immigrant, that if you are an immigrant from a Black country, then you're not really one of us, right? And that, I think that confuses people sometimes too, because you've talked also about how immigration policy has been used to dilute the Black vote, to marginalize Black people, take jobs and resources. So how do you balance that between, the negative impact that immigration as a whole has had on Black people versus what's really going on with Black immigrants and our role in the participation of the freedom of Black people all around the world that have been affected by racism, slavery, and colonialism? How do you balance between those two, given that you're talking about immigrants of all backgrounds?
Well, it's very simple. All you have to do is you have to have a global view. You have to be you're not equally, but you have to be extremely sensitive to the Blacks of African descent any place on the earth, coming to this country or from Africa, Latin America, Europe, wherever they are. You have to be sensitive to the fact that they are a mistreated, maltreated group of people. They have been abused, misused, subordinated, exploited by every religious group, every ethnic group, every gender group on earth, period. Now, what's the difference between that and Blacks in America? Blacks in America are a little bit different from that, but they all in the same bag. But Blacks in America are exceptional because, see, all those Blacks coming in from all those different countries were not treated the way Blacks in America were. Blacks in America are native. You know why? Because when they were captured and put on those ships, they were stripped of everything. They were stripped of their language, their culture, their family, their history, their code of conduct, everything. They were totally neutralized and put on those ships. But that did not happen to the Blacks that are coming in from Africa today, or coming in from the Caribbean, or coming in from Europe. They are being mistreated. They have been maltreated, not the same way that native Blacks have. And the worst thing you can do is pretend that they're equal. The Blacks, native Blacks, have been treated substantially different than any other human group beings on earth. And they've been mistreated and maltreated in this country for 460 years. But the people, Blacks coming in from the Caribbean and Africa and Europe today, they have been mistreated in this country. They were mistreated outside the country. So the indebtedness outside this country is the burden is on those people. And you have to go after them and get them and hold them accountable for what they've done to Black folk outside the country. But if you try to combine the Blacks that are migrating from Africa today or from the last 150 so years, if you amalgamate them together or conflate them together, you do a disservice to native Black Americans, because you try to pretend then that all things are equal and they're not. Because those individuals coming in today from Africa, they have some advantages over Blacks, just like all immigrants. The Blacks coming in from the Caribbean, nobody made them come here. They had a right to leave anytime they wanted. They came here with a language. They came here with a culture. They came here with their families. They can go back anytime they want to. They can start businesses based on what they came in with. Native Blacks in America, going all the way back, that were descendants of slaves, have never had anything. They were stripped. When they were set free, they were given no land, no food, no clothes, no medicine, no religion, no education, no money, no animals, no tools, no weapons, no nothing. And say now the root of Persia. And they struggled for 460 years trying to get one seed out of the ground. No land, nothing. They have been stripped and been violated, misused from the founding up to the present time. And the worst part about that is some of these African countries, sooner or later, we're going to have to not only demand reparations from all these European societies and all these Latin American countries and all these Asian countries and all these Middle Eastern countries, but sooner or later, you have to also demand some reparations from these African nations. And because slavery would not have lasted 2 or 3 weeks or a month if those African nations had stood up and said, no, I'm not going to assist you in any way in maltreating my people, kidnapping 16 million and shipping them across the ocean into America and let them sit there and you won't come and get them. Didn't send one damn boat in 460 years to get back their own people. And but that was a milder form, but they did participate and they owe us too. So everybody on earth owes black folk. That's why you hear me always tell black folk, you are exceptional people. Don't let anybody pretend that they're equal to you. Yes, all blacks of African descent around the world have been misused and abused, but none of them have been misused and abused worse than black folk in America. I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I usually mute myself when you're talking so that I don't interrupt you. Everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. His website, if you want to take a look at his books, is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. If somebody could type that in, I'd appreciate it. Also, please hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't done that, please hit the thumbs up button. You're at drvoicetv.com. This is the home for intelligent black people. And so if you're not black or you're not intelligent, then you probably don't want to be here. I want to say also, I want to publicly acknowledge and say thank you to Kevin Russell for your gift. I appreciate that very much. And also what every man should have. He says, thank you for your gift as well. This is some great information I can use to benefit Claud Anderson and Boyce Watkins. Thank you. Yeah, I will say this, you know, I have way too many classes under my belt. I've been in school. I was in school for a very long time. I was in school till I was 31 years old, which I'm sure probably made me look like a deadbeat, Dr. Anderson. You know, but I'll tell you, in all those years I was in school, a couple things. One, in all hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, by the way, you know, given to white folks to get these degrees that we're supposed to get. And never once did I ever have one single black teacher. I never had a single black teacher one single time in all those years, because a lot of these universities will take black money, but they won't hire black professors. They'll use black basketball players, but they don't want black students who can't dribble a basketball. And the other thing is, I never learned this about myself. I never learned things that I learned in Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, the Black History Reader, stuff like that. And so what I've actually said to you guys is, and I repeat it because I want you to really understand that in order to change the game, you got to change your behavior drastically. You can't get ahead of the system by remaining in the system. I say get away from the system a little bit and educate your own kids and have them read books like Black Labor, White Wealth, have them read books like the Black History Reader, Powernomics at an early age, because those are the most important books I've ever read. I've never read more important books than Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, the Black History Reader, because that tells me where I come from, what my people have gone through. And it gives me an understanding about life in America that I never would have had just by hearing. See, when white people tell you about history, they end up confusing you. They lead you to this conclusion that black people are behind because we're just slow, or we're just lazy, or we're just not as good as they are, because they don't give you all the facts. You know, they don't give you all the information that you need in order to know what's going on. But when you go through, like the way you surgically went through and educated me in front of everybody, because I'm telling you guys, I had no idea what Dr. Anderson. I said, okay, so what's happening here? I'm gonna go, you know, and I'm looking, and you were pointing out all these laws that were put on the books, this code of conduct, this strategy that was put on the books to limit black mobility. And then there's 1,000 other strategies to limit, you know, the way we see ourselves, to affect how we feel about white supremacy, to affect what we do with our money, to affect how we make our money, to affect how we educate our kids. And all of that is still in existence right now. Like, we're still doing those same things right now. So I encourage you all to, you know, go to powernomics.com, read those books, because it'll really kind of break down so many things, so many false beliefs that you've been led to carry around with you your whole life. So, so Dr. Anderson, let me ask you about this. In your book,
Dr. Watkins, can I button up to your question? And what you asked me a few minutes ago, when they started mixing newly arriving blacks with African descent with native blacks, and let me end by saying this to you: those individuals that blend the newly arriving people of African descent from any place on the earth and blend them in with native black America without pointing out the exceptionality of native blacks, you do a disservice to native blacks in America. You know why? Because see, in the whites, once you do that, whites in a society are desperately in search of some kind of weapon, offensive tool they can use that say, we don't owe black folk anything. And see, when you say that you call yourself, that you're no different from anybody coming in from any other black from around the world, that gives white folks the call celeb and say, see, we never done anything to blacks coming in from the Caribbean. We never done anything to blacks from Europe. Blacks just arrived 2 years ago, 50 years, 6 ago. So why would we do anything for black folk? You can't mix the two. You got to recognize it too and be concerned and interested in fighting for people of African descent. But you got to place a major focus on this country. And I'm telling you, from my being in all levels of government with presidents and everybody else and governors, those whites will look for any excuse to show that black folk are no different. They always tell you, well, black folk are no different from anybody else. Nobody's mistreated them. Yes, they have. But you can't say that if you're gonna say a black just came in last week from Jamaica, another just came in from Nigeria 4 years ago, and say they're all the same. Don't do that. That's cutting black folks' throat. That's why I wrote the first affirmative action plan since the Constitution in 1970 to show there's a marked difference. Don't let anybody blend those two together. We must be global in our approach for all people of African descent, but we must also target specifically those native blacks, the whole white folks' feet to the table. And I want those blacks in the Caribbean to hold the British feet to the table. I want those blacks in Africa to hold the Europeans' feet to the table for colonization. But that's all different from black folk in America that are native to this country, that were born and raised here with nothing. They were stripped of everything, including even their humanity. Then don't try to pretend they're the same. I didn't mean to take you off point.
No, you didn't take me off point. This is your show, and they're here to hear you. They hear me all the time, so I shouldn't be doing a lot of talking anyway. I'll just chime in when I have a thought to share. But by the way, everybody, in case you don't know, we're on iTunes. So look up the podcast on iTunes, and you can listen on iTunes. Also, get on one of our lists. Get off of YouTube, get off of Facebook, and get on our mailing list so we can stay in touch with you. It's only a matter of time before Facebook bans me completely, and you'll never see me again. So I have about 100,000 people that follow me on Facebook on different pages. So all of you that want to follow us, go to drboycewatkins.net. You can get a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. And also you'll be on the mailing list. That's drboycewatkins.net. So Dr. Anderson, let me ask you this. When you were talking about, what I like about Powernomics is that Powernomics comes off to me as a book where, at least among other things, what you're saying is, in order for us to defeat our oppressors, we can actually learn from some of the things they did to fight us and to control us. We can sort of learn about the power of things, of multiple things, in particular, codes of conduct and just basically what you would refer to as appropriate versus inappropriate behavior. Now, so that was a discussion actually this morning. This morning I went live with Noma Langan Mushali Moses from Botswana. And and also earlier this week, a young brother you might know about by the name of David Banner was on here, and who has a lot of respect for you as well. And what we were discussing all week had to do with, what codes of conduct as a community should we implement in order to strengthen ourselves. If you think about a football team that wants to score touchdowns, all the players have to have a code of conduct so they can know what the offensive scheme looks like and how you're going to score your points. So for black people, it almost seems like sometimes we might fall short of that code of conduct due to what you refer to as inappropriate behavior. Now, some of the examples you mentioned, and then I'll let you talk, but I'll mention this. You mentioned collusion with the competition. You mentioned social etiquette issues, avoiding blackness, believing that the white man's ice is colder, and not having a plan for empowerment. Can you kind of speak to just sort of a beginner's manual on where we might begin in terms of, putting together strict codes of conduct for ourselves that will help us to become as strong as those who sought to oppress us?
Right. Well, the first thing we do is understand that we've been pre-programmed to be against ourselves and to work and to carry everybody else's water on earth except our own. That's why all these candidates now, black candidates that are filing to run for office, whether it's at the local level, state level, federal level, they're all carrying the water for anybody else but black folk. They're going to carry the water for any ethnic group, racial group, gender group, or a political party, but nothing for black folk. They've been taught and brainwashed to carry the water for everybody except black folk, because that was against the black codes that were set up and the slave codes that were set up in history. As I said, the slave codes in 1705 says that black folk could never do anything to the benefit black folk. In 1710, when they set up the meritorious manumission, they said we will reward you and compensate you and elevate you if you do 3 or 4 things, which I mentioned to you before, that would aid economically, politically, white folk. But it wouldn't do anything but to maintain the status quo on blacks. And also, I told you, after 1870, they had another code of etiquette came out after slavery ended. It was called a Code of Etiquette in 1870. It says that if you black folk started running for public office or get a job in a public position, there are certain things you cannot do. You cannot place any attention on either on Black issues or on group-based issues, or try to hold white folks accountable for what they've done to you and how they mistreated you for 360 years. They set that code of conduct. That was called the code of conduct for inappropriate behavior. They said you're supposed to act against yourselves. You're supposed to pretend like you're standing in front of a mirror and looking in that mirror, and you're gonna start. You look at that mirror and see when you see your own image, but see it in reverse and do things in reverse. If you stand in front of an image in a mirror right now, Dr. Watkins, and you raise your right hand, and you say, and you've been taught to see things through the eyes of whites, guess what that mirror will reflect to you? You'll be in fact raising your left hand in the mirror. Blacks were taught and educated to see, and not semi-educated, to see everything upside down and backwards. And we found in master's degree program in psychological human behaviors, what we call psychological, physiological manipulation, is that we can teach people to see things and live upside down. We found out through experiments in deprogramming, brainwashing, and from our people coming out of career. I can take a pair of glasses right now, and I can paint images on them upside down. I could take your glasses and paint the images upside down of anything I want. And guess what? After a short while to make you wear those glasses, you know what your body and your mind would do? It'll reverse them to where you'll learn how to live with seeing things upside down and backwards. And that's how Black folk have been taught to have no interest in their own people, to do anything that's counterposed. That's why if you want to do any shooting and killing, if white folk have taught you that Black folk ain't worth a quarter, and then white folks don't have any problem with killing a Black person, either like every police is shoot one every other week or two, then you have no respect and appreciation for Black folk because you're looking through those same glasses, even though they're upside down and backwards. That is inappropriate behavior. And so Black folk have been conditioned to see things upside down and backwards. So that's why you mentioned a bit about white ice is colder than Black ice. I've actually seen that. I've seen that in reality. I'm standing in Tallahassee, Florida, sat on the street corner talking to a Black real estate guy, man, about selling real estate for Black folk. We watched a Black man pull up to a Black-owned grocery store directly across the street, and he goes over to the ice machine. Now he goes over to the ice machine, opens up the big ice machine box, and pulls out a bag of ice. I'm gonna show you how Black folk have been conditioned. Right, in reality, this was only about 20 years ago. He picks up a bag of ice and he rolls the ice around. He feels it, put his hand against it. Then he put it back in there. And guess what he did then? He closed the box and came right across the street to a big liquor store there, a big liquor store called Jack's Liquor, J-A-X, Jack Liquor. He goes over to the same machine by the same company, and opens that one up, looks in there and picked up the bag of ice, then looked at it, then he went and paid for it. I said, damn, I haven't seen that before. I said, I've heard about white ice being colder than Black ice. I said, damn, I just saw it. So when he came back out, get in his car, I said, come here, Mr. Second. I said, I'm Dr. Claud Anderson, blah, 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 blah. I'm over this. He said, yeah, I know you, Dr. Anderson. I said, let me ask you a question. I don't mean to be offensive, so please pardon me and excuse me if I offend you. He said, I'm just curious. How can you go to President Williams over there, who's a vice president of Florida A&M University, who has a grocery store? You go to his ice machine. You pick up a bag of ice out of his machine. You play with it and put it back. But then you come over across the street to Jack Liquor and you buy it. Why'd you do that? He said, well, Dr. Anderson, I said, you got something wrong with something wrong with Dr. Williams? No. It's just that his ice is lumpier than white ice. And I said, well, I told him it needs to grow. I've heard of white folk ice being colder, but now white ice is lumpier. I said, his ice, y'all just amaze me. So that's inappropriate behavior. So he'd rather buy from a white company than a white company selling the same damn ice.
Well, you know what, Dr. Anderson, I want to ask you, did you happen to see the movie, the recent movie Us by Jordan Peele?
No, I have.
Well, what you said about seeing the world backwards, just seeing the same thing but seeing it backwards, that made me think about the movie Us, because in the movie Us, the whole theme of it was that every person that's living had another person that looked just like them who lived in an alternative reality. They lived in another world where they would be doing the same thing you were doing, but they were doing it in a different kind of situation, but they were mirroring everything that you did. It was just it was like the ugly side of life as opposed to, the more optimistic side, and really the whole idea behind the film, I think, was it had a lot of interpretations, but part of it was that, the characters that were living this alternative reality, eventually they rebelled, and they rebelled against themselves. They went to go kill the other version of themselves. And it was almost like they were kind of saying that, I've been following you my whole life. Everything you do, I'm doing, except when you're eating a delicious piece of cake, I'm eating a rat. When you give birth to a beautiful baby, I gave birth to a dead animal. And so they were just so it was kind of like this effort to say, we're sick of it, and they were going through a process with what they consider to be untethering. Like, I'm not going to be tethered to you anymore. I'm going to be free. I'm going to be tethered to myself. I'm going to be free to do what I want. So it's almost like with Black people, I think that when you talk about what you were saying about sort of seeing things backwards, that backwardness does connect to this idea of being tethered to what we're being taught by white folks. White folks are the ones who are educating you. White folks are the ones who are putting everything that you consume on TV in front of you. White folks are the ones who are telling you what political issues to talk about. White folks are the ones who are telling you to be a feminist. They're the ones who are telling you that gay lesbian has now become LGBT. LGBT is now LGBTQ. LGBTQ is LGBTQ plus, right? So they're tethering you, right? White folks are telling you that immigration is now the big thing that everybody wants to talk about. We're going to talk about the border wall, and Black people start talking about the border wall. So it almost seems like we end up chasing our tails, and we can't build anything for ourselves because we're not looking forward at a vision that is uniquely ours, where we're seeing something that we could be and working toward that. We're not working toward what we can possibly be as a community. We're just following behind what white people are doing. Like the difference between a vehicle that has a motor and a driver versus a wagon that is attached on to another vehicle. That wagon has no power, right? That wagon has no sovereignty in deciding where it's going to go because it's tethered. So it's almost like for Black people, we are like that wagon that needs to get untethered. That's why I like Jordan Peele's movies. You got to check them out. They're really good. But we have to get untethered and put an engine in our wagon so we can drive that wagon where we want to, as opposed to going wherever Master's telling us to go, because that's where we're getting lost. Well, what do you say to that?
I think you're right on tune. And see, and what you're saying in a little more scientific perspective is that, you see, Black folk are a sum total of their experiences, just like every human being is a sum total of all of their experiences. And consequently, Blacks have had totally different experiences from anybody else. So from slavery, Jim Crow segregation, Black codes, and being an underclass, that all those things make up what Black folks are in terms of their ego. But in the mind, there are stages you're talking about. In the mind, at the lowest level, Dr. Watkins, is the id. And I'm gonna show you familiar with the id. The id is that drive that says, I am something special. And I'm strong, and I'm determined to get what I want once in a while. That says what's in my best interest. That's the id that drives the body. But when it goes up to another level, at the second level, you got the ego. And you go from the ego, you go up to the top level, is a super ego. Now, let's watch how this thing works. The super ego is basically what you're talking about. Those are the standards, the codes of conduct that white folk have embedded in your mind. Those are the things, are the values, that things that they want to see you do, how they want to see, how they want to view you. There's certain ways that whites want to view Blacks and see Blacks and how Black folk ought to behave. When Black folk behave in those manners, they get white approval. Now, right now, the approval is for Black folk to be seen permanently, always, in a safe category called either playing with balls, football, basketball, baseballs, tennis ball, golf balls, singing, dancing, telling jokes. And that means even whether you're in the pulpit or you're up in the politics, that's how they want to see you, as being a very safe, something that they do not have any fear of, that they feel they can manipulate and manage any time. And so they instill in your super ego their values in your head. Now, in your bottom, down your id, that's what you want to be when you represent your own people, your own self. So what Black folk are caught in, they gotta try to blend those two things, between what the id is for their own selves and their own people, with this high volume pressure coming down from the superego, how have been installed in white folks' mind. And when they see that, that becomes the ego. Becomes how blacks perform, and they're comfortable with that. And the shortest way of saying it, I don't want to draw it out. Let me take another 2 minutes. Right now, if I was standing on, let me give you an example. If a guy was standing on the street corner at about 9 o'clock at night, and he has this romantic inclination, he looked down, here comes a very beautiful girl down the road. He sees her walking towards him. And he says, you know what? He said, now the id kicks in. The id says, you know what? I'm in love, and I right now I want to have some companionship, some tenderness, and some comfort. And here comes a nice looking girl. I think I'm gonna jump out of the bushes and grab her when she get past these hedges and take her in the back room, either make love to or rape her. I'm just using it from the rawest sense, okay? Then that's the id. The id trying to satisfy itself and try to deal with what it wants to do. Now, but then all of a sudden he looks down the street before the girl gets there, and guess what? Here comes a police car with lights on, heading down the same way. And then all of a sudden, that's when the superego kicks in and say, now, don't you do what you were thinking about doing, because you see, you can go to jail, you can get shot, then you can hurt that girl, and you can violate her and damage her for the rest of her life. Those other values from someone else kicks in, and those things are installed in your mind. So then you have those two begin to conflict. And what they do, they work out an agreement. So the ego chops in and say, hold it. Now, I think I can get caught, I can be shot, I can go to prison. I'm not going to touch that girl. I'm just going to speak to her and keep on going. So from the egos, that the values have been instilled in your mind by the conditions of the society and that community, and what the id wants to do, they finally get together, mishmash, come up with what y'all call the ego. So right now, blacks' ego is to do whatever they want to do that white folk would believe in and support them. Most blacks in America right now in a mad rush to be everything that white folks want them to be. That's what they want to be. If white folks start saying, we'll appreciate your music, if you rap, if you put your hat on backwards, you wear your pants down, you look like a gangster, and you preach and you talk like a gangster, you use a lot of curse words and violence and talk violence, and your girls, if you look like a whore or a prostitute, those things are being imposed in their heads, and they're in a hurry to act them out. That becomes a part of their ego, and they'll fight you. Sometimes you want to change it. And that's why a boy like you asked about Nipsey Russell, he then says, I've been following Dr. Anderson. I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to go back and try to see if I can use powernomics principles and do something for my people in my community. But he got shot in the process.
Yeah, well, well, I'll tell you what, I hope you guys agree with me that people like the Nipsey Hussles are wonderful people. Tell me if you agree. I think that our goal should be to produce 1 million people who think that way, 1 million Powernomic soldiers, 1 million Nipsey Hussles, 1 million Claud Andersons, 1 million little Boyce Watkinses, maybe. I don't know. That might be a scary thing, but I think that's what we really need in our communities. We need millions of people that are thinking the same way. I don't know if anybody in here watches. Yes or no? Yes or no? Does anybody else watch Game of Thrones, or am I the only nerd up in here? I hope I don't sound extra white when I say I watch Game of Thrones. But Dr. Anderson, you got to watch Game of Thrones if you don't watch it. It's a great show about fighting for power. It's a great show about establishing family dynasties and royalty and things like that. And I just like it. It's just a good show. It's right there with The Wire. The Wire is another great show that I love. But anyway, with Game of Thrones, one of the things that shows like that just remind you of is that that fighting for power is difficult. I don't think the show is completely unrealistic in terms of showing that when you want to win a battle, you have to get an army. And even if you get an army, you still might lose. And if you lose, you still might be able to come back. But you have to be strategic. You have to be prepared. You've got to get everybody on code. You have to get everybody on the same page. So what we need in the Black community is we do not need more Black economic superheroes. We can use more of those, but what we really need is an economic army. We need millions and millions of our young people to become the most financially and economically intelligent human beings on earth. So my vision for the year 2070, Dr. Anderson, the year 2070, 50 years from now, is that Black children will be the most financially literate, financially intelligent, and financially capable human beings on the planet. It's a very simple procedure. All we have to do, I've already put together the model. It's called the KID model. It stands for knowledge, investment, and discipline. And if you implement that model when your children are, say, by the age of 12, every Black child knows how to start a business by the age of 12. By the age of 12, every Black child owns some shares of stock. by the age of 12. Every black child understands the basics of buying real estate, buying a home. That right there puts them ahead of 98% of the American public, because most of the American public is financially stupid. So to me, if we can teach our kids to twerk, in kindergarten, we can teach them how to buy stocks and bonds at an early age. If they know how to dribble basketballs and throw footballs by the third grade, then they can also learn how to buy a house. They don't have to go buy a house, just the procedure. Why does real estate matter? What's an appraisal process? What does that look like? So this is something to me that this is why I'm glad you and I get to talk on a mass scale, because we reach hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million people every week. And I don't want, the kind of knowledge you and I have to be something that where you got to go pay $50,000 a year at some university to get access to this knowledge. There's nothing secret about it. Anybody can buy Powernomics. Anybody can buy Black Labor, White Wealth. Anybody can go study at the Black Business School. It costs you less than the cost of a Happy Meal. So by doing this in this way, I think that we're able to revolutionize economic intelligence, economic strategy. But it also takes mental toughness. You can't win. I don't care if you're the most talented athlete on the court, like basketball or football. You can be the most talented player on the court, or in a war, you can be the most talented soldier on the battlefield. But nothing matters if you have no courage. Nothing matters if you don't have the focus, and if you're scared every time somebody pull a gun up at you, point a gun at you or whatever. You can't survive like that. So what I'm saying is, we also need some courage, So I don't want to hear black folks tell me, well, white folks they're gonna come shut you down, Dr. Watkins. I don't give a shit. They just have to come kill me then. Fine, that's okay. I'll take one for the team. I don't want to hear you tell me about how powerful everybody else is and how they did this and they gonna do that to us and they control us like this and that and that. I want to understand that so we can override it. But when I see a problem, I'm a mathematician. When I see a problem, that means I need to find a solution. That does not mean I walk away. You find a solution. So anyway, let me give you guys the quick update. I'm gonna let Dr. Anderson get the last words in. But everybody, I'm talking to Dr. Claud Anderson. His books are Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. His website is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. I hope you will support that and go to the website. If you are inspired by Dr. Anderson, just let us know. Say, yes, I'm inspired. Tell us what you're going to do differently. Tell us something. Talk black to us right now. Let us know what's on your mind that's going to take you and your family to the next level. I don't care what other black people do. I don't care what white people do. I don't care what the rest of America does. All I want to know is, what are you going to do? What are you, YOU, going to do tomorrow that's going to make your family different? Dr. Anderson, I'll let you get the last word, sir.
Well, first of all, I support you fully in that regard. And I think you're doing a masterful job of going back to what I was telling you a few minutes ago, by reinstilling certain kind of institutional values in that super ego of black folk. So they gotta have a brain drain. You gotta drain all the trash and boo-boo out of it that was instilled in there about thinking that they were inferior and thinking that they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. They have to love white folk better than they love themselves. They have to love the world better than they love themselves. You got to replenish that super ego. And the reason it's going to be difficult, and I think you're doing a masterful job of trying to substitute for the damage that's been inflicted on black folk. See, the first thing, the family should be instituting those various values and principles into that super ego. That should have been the first role of the family. But the family has been destroyed intentionally. The family has been destroyed, going all the way back to slavery, where the black man was taken out of the equation. And now what they're doing is they slipping gayness into it, where a kid can go to school and have two men and call one of them his mom and one his daddy. You're instituting negative things, where you got two girls going there, where now said that she could never have a family again because she's going with another girl down the street, and they're walking around being gay. You've destroyed the black family. So what you're doing is trying to correct that super ego and put in good, solid, healthy kind of thoughts and values into their head. Same thing with the church. The church used to have a primary responsibility to instill moral values and guidance inside of the head into the super ego of a black that would guide them, give them some ups and downs and a code of conduct for how they are to behave in regards to their own people. But again, the churches are way off. They became commercialized always since slavery, and most of them right now are controlled by either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. And those who are not controlled are very rare. If you start talking about black issues, most of them get up and walk out because they've been brainwashed to say that their primary responsibility is to teach black folk, prepare black folk to work hard and to go to heaven and walk on clouds and get 2 cookies after they die. Look for pie in the sky after death. I'm telling you. And then the politicians, civil rights leaders, they should have been instilling those values into that super ego to help guide blacks and help them find the right courses in life, and be aggressive and to challenge the system. But again, those politicians, they don't give a damn about black folk. All they want to do is get enough votes so they can get reelected to office and do nothing. That's why in this upcoming election, 2020, black folk have no friends and no allies, and no one's going to bring up an issue about them. Now, in the last moment, you'll probably find some pseudo-official judo monkey time ex-civil rights leaders jump and say, I'm going to help black folk, but I can't help black folk unless I help all people. But so what I'm saying to you is all the basic institutions in the black community that should have been instilling those values and codes of conduct and appropriate behavior into the heads of black folk have been destroyed. And they were ruined when they were black folk enslaved, and black folk had very few of them successfully intact into their own minds. So that's your problem. Between the superego now is devoid. Most of the values in there are telling black kids you can't compete unless you be a football player, basketball player, you sing and dance and tell jokes. You can't build business. You can't make it in business. You ain't got enough damn sense to be in business. And you can't. And white ice is always colder. If a black gets open up a restaurant, go to the white restaurant. Go to the Chinese restaurant. Go to Arabs. Those values has to be stripped out. You have to instill new values. And to do that, you must have new institutions and new leadership. And to do that, you should have this library pack that you just spoke of. The 5 library packs, those 5 books that black folk can get for $99 by going to the powernomics.com. That'll be the basis, and and they should be used, and all those people should be attending your black business school, and they'll get all that together in a combination. That's the best pack I can recommend to them.
All right, everybody. Well, you guys heard it. Please hit the thumbs up button for Dr. Anderson. Please give him a digital round of applause. Please tell him thank you for his time. We must show respect to our great leaders while they are alive. I don't want to hear none of y'all, if Dr. Anderson goes before I do, which I don't know, he's a young man, so it'd be neck and neck. But if he goes before me, I don't want to hear a bunch of people upset when he's gone. You need to thank him while he's here. Don't show up at my funeral when you ain't talked to me in 5 years. I need you to tell me now. We're going to have I want my eulogy right now. I want all of that right now. So please, everybody, thank Dr. Anderson. I'm going to show you guys a screenshot of powernomics.com. So this is the website, and you see he's got the solutions pack. You don't hear a lot of our people really talking about solutions. Why? Well, because people are addicted to despair. They're addicted to the depression that comes with victimization. Well, Dr. Anderson has solutions. He's not just talking. He's actually doing. He's got some things here, different options, all different kinds of options you can take a look at powernomics.com. And also, those of you who were asking earlier, Dr. Anderson, you should take a look. I've never shown you this, but we actually spent 2 years working with experts, because I'm into solutions too. We actually got some black experts together to help us put together some financial workbooks that children can use inside their own household. Because I'm with you. I believe that the family must be the dominant institution in the lives of our children. And the books were sold out pretty quickly. I just want you guys to know that we did get restocked. We'll probably sell out again pretty quickly. But here's the website, and you can see we have books on money and investing and stocks for different grade bands, grades 1 through 3. We have things for middle school kids, high school, etc. So if you want to go look at those books as well, you can go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. So feel free to go check that out. Summertime's coming. Don't waste the time in the summer. I'm going to tell you, if you talk about black people, and this is a good analogy, I want everybody to understand, hit the thumbs up button while I tell you this. Please hit the thumbs up button and share if you're on Facebook. And I'll say it's Dr. Anderson, then I'll let you go, or unless you have something that you want to add before we take off. Rick Pitino used to be one of the premier college basketball coaches in America. When he was at University of Kentucky, a lot of schools don't even get to the championship, but one time every 30, 40 years, he got there 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row in 96, 97, and 98, he got to the championship. And so one of the things that was interesting about this guy is that he operated at a championship level. His standards were higher than everybody else's because that's what you have to be. So as black people, for us to operate at a championship level, we've got to have standards that are higher than everybody else's. And also, we're also coming from a deficit. So if you're trying to win a championship and you're 20 points behind, you play harder than the other team. And one of the things Patino used to say to his players that I thought was really interesting, that I think is applicable for this summer, is he would send his players home for the summer, and he would tell them, do not come back in the fall with the same skills you had when you left in the spring. He said, I do not want the same player next year that I have this year. You will not be the same guy in the fall that you were in the spring. If you do not improve and grow over the summer, then you have failed. And I think that that's the mandate that we can put on ourselves for this summer, for your children. Your children will be at home. They're going to have a lot of free time. I can give you guidelines. I'll show you what I do with my kids in the house. Make sure your kids at the end of the summer are not at the same level that they are right now, because your children are special children. They're not going to be like everybody else's kids. That's what, my mama, when people can understand how my mama was 17, she gave birth to me, and I became a professor. My sister's a doctor, and my brother went to Cornell University. None of my friends' parents did that. All my mother's friends that had kids at the same time, none of their kids did anything like that. And what it was, the difference was that we just had a different standard. But I can't tell you how many times I heard my mother say, and my father too, I don't care what those other kids are getting away with. I don't care what their parents said. This is how it's going to go in our house. So our house became like a sanctuary, where it didn't matter what was happening in the rest of the world. I mean, and I didn't even know at the time that I should have been feeling sorry for myself because I was growing up in the middle of Reaganomics. You ask most black folks, well, Reaganomics, black people were it was terrible. We were all, and it's true. I mean, it was a bad time, but I didn't know all of that because in our household, we just had a standard, man, and I encourage everybody to learn something from that. Pick a standard for your house and stick to it. That's a code of conduct. That's what's going to help you win championships. Dr. Anderson, I'll let you get the last word. Thank you for letting me get that out.
No, you did a magnificent job, and you're a role model in your family and how they raised and how your mother raised them, how y'all interacted, and you sought to excel and to the highest level. And that's what these Asians do. It's because their family, their culture instills in them those values, standards. And see, right now we talk about how a coach might say to a kid, I want you to excel and be good and do this and be the best. But why don't why don't every school do the same thing? And instead of just preaching black kids to be athletes, why don't they practice for them to be chemists, to be astronauts, to be the best in the math and science and the hard cores, and to be the best in everything? The same thing. I don't mind a person that always say, well, I raised the best coach and best football teams. I was down to Florida A&M University. The best thing they had done, know what it was? The team, the football team, and also the band. That was it. I said, why the hell don't you spend as much time focusing and bring the best minds into the school to focus on making these kids the best damn business people in the damn country? Why don't you make them the best chemists, the physicists? And then, well, Dr. Anderson, but we're noted for having the best football team and the best band. That ain't worth a damn. So I said, now all these schools, and I was over education. I said, well, Dr. Anderson, you're just so hard on us. I said, hard my butt. You better learn how to compete. I said, Asians got a thing. Asians demand from the family demand that their kids go to school, they get nothing less than A's. You certainly strive to be the best in school. And after you and when you graduate, you go get, next thing you will do, don't go look for being no damn employee, but except on a 5-year time period. You go find your job, work that job for about 2.5 years, and learn some additional skills, on-job skills when you're working that job. But after 2 or 3 years, you quit. They teach their kids to quit, never work a job more than about 4 or 5 years. Then you go to another job, find another job, another place of employment along the same lines and the same career spectrum. And then you learn additional skills. Then by the 5th year after you graduate from college, they want you to be in business. That's why 1 out of every 10 Asians are in business, Dr. Watkins. And only 1 out of every 105 blacks are in business. Because we teach our kids to run with a damn ball. We don't teach them to manufacture balls, to manufacture equipment, how to be the best. I'm sick and tired of black folk trying to teach black folk, I want you to sing and dance, play with a ball and tell jokes. And that's not powernomics unless you're going to control the whole structure vertically. But anyway, I'm gonna quit right there. But you were right on target, and I commend your parents for having instilled those values in you, and they took your super ego and stacked it to right values. And that's how you perform based on those values today. I appreciate that, and I commend you for it. And I look up to you, and I respect you for having one of the best Black business schools in the country.
Thank you very much. And the feeling is entirely mutual. And everybody, please give Dr. Claud Anderson a digital round of applause for his extraordinary work. He comes in every Thursday for Powernomics Thursday. And I hope that you learned something, but most importantly, I hope that you'll do something as a result of this. Let me give you his URL again. It's powernomics.com. Please go take a look at the books that he has. Also, if you're interested in our financial workbooks, it's financialworkbooks.com or financialflashcards.com if you want to check that out for your kids. And that's it, guys. So it was great seeing everybody. We love you all very, very much. Thank you so much for your time, and we will keep coming at you with as much Black intelligence as you can eat. Every single day. We just want to feed the community and make it great. So thank you, Dr. Anderson.
Right. And tell them those power pack, that library pack, for Powernomics, that $99 library pack, that is the basis of our Us Too movement in this upcoming election.
Yes,
and which you are a major part of across this country. Boyce Watkins is a major proponent and propelling element in the Us Too movement in America.
Well, yes, and that's a hashtag, y'all. So if you tweet or anything like that, or you go on Facebook, use the hashtag Us Too, and also you can relate it to reparations. So if you join the reparations conversation, use the hashtags and support the movements as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Anderson. Have a good day.
Thank you, buddy. Have a nice weekend.
You too, my friend. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.